Peace, peace. Today we are going to have a look at Zimbabwe as the Valley of Dry Bones. Zimbabwe is a microcosm for the condition of black people all over the world, bogged down by the conditions of life in modern day Babylon. Now, to understand the condition of black people all over the world, sometimes we could just take an interesting people, like the people of Zimbabwe. And the majority of people in this country is so-called black people. And when we look at their life and how they live and how they relate to each other and how they function as a people, it is a microcosm for how black people all over the world are getting on. Zimbabwe is the valley of dry bones. The people are living, or rather existing, because there's a difference between living and existing. Existing is where there's no purpose to one's life. One is just breathing, eating, going to bed, shitting, and really are going nowhere real with their life. In fact, they really have no sense of the future, because just because you live to the next day, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are experiencing the future, because every other day is like the one before. So there's nothing futuristic there. It's really the same day. There's just the illusion of it being a different day because you saw the sun going down, but that's just all going around in circles. So that is existence, and that's people in a state of death, meaning the people lived before. They used to live before. Life was not always like this. The people were not always in a condition of servitude or slavery to other nations where the people are looked down upon in some sort of way. Even within the people's own territory, their own geographical borders, who's really benefiting from the people's resources? You are under the ground, and there's somebody else who has their feet on top of you, and they're walking in what is supposed to be your land and doing as they please. Mwari is the Karanga version of the god Osiris, the Egyptian or Kemetic deity Osiris, the god of the dead. So Mwari is the god of the people who are in a state of death. And only upon being quickened shall the people become aware of the true and living God, the one in the scriptures. Now, for us to have an understanding of Mwari as Osiris, it is important for us to study Great Zimbabwe, because this ancient culture really left an important landmark which can link us to our people in the past, who we were in the past. Because sometimes when you're trying to understand yourself, you have to retrace your footsteps. To me, Great Zimbabwe is a very important point in the journey of our people, and it gives us an understanding of who our people were, and it gives us insight into their beliefs and what they believed of themselves, their spiritual or religious beliefs at the time, and so on. What that was, we can learn it by studying the Great Zimbabwe. I've come to the understanding or the recognition that certain aspects of Great Zimbabwe represent a tomb and a womb at the same time. What is known as Mumbahuru, they are oval tombs that were recently discovered in Egypt. They closely resemble the Great Zimbabwean temple, whose view from a higher level will show you what looks like a womb. This temple at Great Zimbabwe represents the womb and the tomb at the same time. They were connecting themselves to an earlier time where they buried their people in these oval tombs. This figure in the tomb represents the dead Osiris reincarnating in the womb as the child Heru. So it's like these two concepts or these two ideas have been meshed into a single idea, which is that of death and rebirth. For those who know, the constellation of Orion basically represents Osiris. 3 monoliths that were placed inside the Zimbabwean temple align with Orion's 3 brightest stars. This Great Zimbabwe monument is a monument for the ancient people's belief in reincarnation. We know that Osiris reincarnates as Heru, and we know that there's a connection between the constellation of Orion and Osiris. In ancient times, the constellation is meant to be a representation of the deity Osiris. This is to tell you that this is the people's belief. Mwari rises as Heru. I said Mwari is Osiris. It's the same person. That figure that appears to be a child in the womb at Great Zimbabwe is really Heru, who is the deity Osiris or Mwari resurrected. So yeah, this is just, the pagan form of baptism, because in baptism one dies and one is reborn. Nehanda's last words, "My bones will rise." She continues to reflect the people's belief in reincarnation. Reincarnation is a pagan form of baptism. In saying that my bones will rise, this is really Nehanda speaking on the restoration of a people. A certain people would rise out of this society. I believe we are in that time where a particular group of people would represent the restoration of the people. Now, this is not to say that Nehanda is supposed to be looked upon as some figure to venerate or to hold up idols of her and so on. This is not what I'm saying at all. Certain messages will be passed through certain people, whether they are fully aware of what is being passed through them or not. That is irrelevant. The message has to go through, and I believe that when Nehanda said those words, she really was, speaking of people who are rising today. I say that we are men and women are rising intelligently, which means that we are a people that are rising out of a people that are dead mentally. We are rising out of that as Mwari, which means that a roof was placed or a lid was placed over the people, and the people were thrown asunder, so that other people walk over the people. We are those who rise out of that state of being walked over by other nations and people. We reclaim our manhood, our womanhood. We reclaim our position. We represent those who rise out of that state of death. That's what we represent. We are part of the remnant of the nation of Israel that is scattered amongst the nations. And according to scripture, these people would be resurrected. This is who Nehanda is talking about when she says, my bones will rise. These are the same bones being spoken about in the book of Ezekiel 37 actually, which speaks on the valley of dry bones. So this is why I was talking about Zimbabwe as a microcosm of black people all over the world, because the nation of Israel is scattered all over the world, and a remnant, there's a promise that the people would rise out of that nation of Israel, which is in a state of death. So life has been given unto us in this time. And when you look at the temple at Great Zimbabwe, the tomb, which is also a womb, it is giving you an idea of the condition of our people at one point, and how those people would rise, or how a people would rise to stand as the hope for the entire race.